Welcome to the Brave Feminine Leadership Podcast, where I get to dig into delicious conversations with global leaders, and we get to soak up their wisdom and perspective on life and leadership. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to have Natallia Smith joining me. Natallia, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Now, let me share with everyone who you are. So Natallia Smith is the founder and director of TruWealth Advice and is on a mission to empower women to achieve financial security, independence and confidence. Having migrated to Australia in 2001, Natallia understands firsthand the financial challenges associated with starting in a new country. Natallia specialises in helping and educating pre-retiree single women to manage their financial affairs. Her corporate career included working as a private wealth manager for Macquarie Private Wealth before branching out on her own. And in 2023 was one of the finalists for the Women in Finance Financial Advisor of the Year. Wow. So
that was great. Yes, no, it's big journey.
Before we jump into our conversation, Natallia and I are both just keen to share that we're not going to be providing any financial advice today. So we'll be very much focused on a general conversation. And our goal is to empower women broadly to invest in understanding and then executing the right strategies for them. And it's also important to select the right advisor to work with. And Natallia and I are going to talk about that a little later also. So now that I feel like I've just monopolised the first 45 seconds, apologies to our audience. Natallia, tell us who you are as a human being. Tell us all about you.
Absolutely. Look, I am, yes, my bio is there, but I am a mum. I'm a business owner and very fortunate to be able in my position where I can share my expertise, my knowledge and help women and particular women that are vulnerable and they're willing to learn and take advice. So it's a privilege. So my journey started, as I mentioned, I moved to Australia in 2001, had a psychology degree that wasn't unfortunately recognised. So I had to pivot and decided to go in the world of finance and very fortunate again that finance and psychology for me has worked really well, and I became a financial advisor and started my own business as well. And now I work with women focusing on their financial well-being and helping them become financially independent.
Fantastic. Now, I love the combination of psychology and the financial advice, and I'd love us to kind of get into that conversation. And maybe we just kick straight off about, is there a connection between psychology and money?
Absolutely. Look, money mindset and psychology of money, it's so important. And I guess it's like anything when we embark on a journey to learn a new area or new industry, we need to understand the history of it. And in financial planning, it's very similar. We do start with understanding our own relationship with money and our money beliefs, and growing up, what messages do we receive? And that will shape up who we're going to be in the future. And sometimes when we do have some trauma in life, for example, if our parents go through a divorce or maybe a bankruptcy, or we grew up with no money and that kind of tension in the family, it will have an impact on our future lives. So recognizing that, being aware of those situations is the first step to understand how you can actually overcome those beliefs and money issues potentially and get on a better track.
So tell us, let's take back to, 2001, and you've migrated here to Australia. What led to that? I'm curious about that. And, how was that? I mean, that's an enormous thing to do.
Absolutely. And look, as a 21-year-old, you've got no fear. You just go places, and pretty much that's what happened to me. And when I realized that I had to somehow survive financially, I had no family here, and that really made me think about, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to learn all of the money management side of it? And I've always had an interest in money. I like that side. So I'm lucky that the learning aspect was there. So it helped me to actually go into the industry and then become a financial advisor. But yeah, it was tough. Absolutely. Renting and borrowing money to buy a car, basic things. So it was a tough gig, but somehow I've managed to get through it. And I think, I'm fortunate that I was in the right industry.
So you did your psychology degree, that wasn't recognised. You came over here, found your way into financial planning, and then also studied in that field as well.
That's right. Yes, I did. I went back to uni and I did masters in business banking finance.
Yeah. Fantastic. So pretty good growth mindset there. What do you see in terms of common kind of beliefs, if you like, or common money mindsets? What are sort of some of the things you hear?
I think it's messaging that we receive as children, but also we do have a lot of biases, and that's natural. That's our human nature. Our brains are, designed the way they are, and they're just to save us to survive. We had to develop certain biases. For example, overconfidence, or maybe endowment bias, where we value our assets higher than what they actually are. So it is, we do have all of that inbuilt in us, and particularly if you think about the history of our human being and development, we were not really born to save money. It was all about survival. And it was all about, I suppose, being as a group, as a community, sharing with each other because we had to share to survive. And so I get some of those ancestors, in us kind of really developed in a different way. But yeah, so really recognizing that those beliefs do exist. Everyone has them, and it's all about what do we do about it, understanding our blind spots and how do we actually improve and move on.
And I love that you brought up blind spots, because one of the things that I know you and I, when we first met, we had a conversation about this, that, I work with, and I know you do too, like people who are really senior in their organizations, who have big responsibility for very large budgets. And so they're very capable when it comes to, broadly speaking, their financial understanding, but perhaps not quite so focused on their own, or lack confidence in their own financials. And I hear it a lot, Natallia. I hear from people who say, I wish I was better at this. I wish I understood it. Is that just common for you too?
So common. And it's fascinating to see how you're right. Some women are so confident when it comes to their jobs, but when it comes to managing their own wealth and money, they really struggle. And I guess it could be, again, those messages or beliefs that we've got, and without actually even realizing that we've got them. And very interesting how it takes a long time for us to change. So money habits as well, if we are used to, for example, helping people and giving money away, not really thinking about the future, and or potentially maybe thinking that somebody else will take care of us. That's a common one as well. Growing up, we do have, particularly with girls, we do get that kind of message across sometimes. So it is quite a common pattern that women experience, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make them, I guess, make better choices when it comes to money when they are adults. And interestingly, seeing our future selves as well. It's not something we, particularly when we're young, we don't really do that as often. We don't imagine ourselves being 50, 60, 70. It's just not what we do. But it's really important to put things into perspective, because without actually doing something today, that future life is going to be very, potentially compromised.
And it's interesting when you say we don't picture ourselves as 50, 60, 70, but then we arrive there. And
yes.
And I know for a lot of the people you work with, you do work with people in that sort of 50 plus kind of bracket. We'll go back and talk about younger people later, because I think it's important, but let's just focus on that group and, talk us through, how do you even start with someone in that group? And is it too late by the time you're there?
Well, starting early obviously has a tremendous benefit, and compound interest, we'll talk about that. But even at that age, where maybe even you are in your pre-retirement stage, it's really important. For example, we all go and get our health checks done, And as you hit 50, you get your letter in the mailbox. So I guess even starting from that, it's very similar to your health check. Just how about we'll do a financial check? How about we'll just think about, okay, what do we need to have in place to ensure that we are going to be okay in the future? Thinking about, do I have the right amount of money in my superannuation fund? Maybe do I need to have more or less? What is my investment strategy? Am I saving enough money for my retirement? Really, it's just thinking about, okay, what are those bigger questions that we need to get answered, and then focusing on, okay, what am I going to do?
Mm. So let's go back. How young do you think people should start?
When they're children. Ideally, but it's like, it's like, when do you plant a tree? It's the same situation. The earlier, the better, but we do have different priorities. And this is where you've got this, again, the psychology of money. When we are 20-year-olds, we don't think about obviously saving as much, because for us, it's all about having fun, traveling the world. Experiences are really important. And unless you've got parents that are quite there in terms of, they say, look, you've got to buy a house, or you have to save money. So if we don't have that at home, it's not going to be on the agenda. So again, it's really sometimes, obviously, with social media now, it is interesting as well how it's very influential, and thinking about obviously what are we going to, it is an interesting one, in terms of starting with that kind of money, even being interested in actual learning about money as well.
I was impressed because I've got an 18-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son, and I was impressed that through school they actually learnt about compound interest. I don't remember learning about that.
No, and they do even now at school. My kids, they have a program that helps them, they earn money in the class by doing chores and something else, and then they save that money, and then they can invest that money. So it's hypothetical, it's not real money, but it is a concept that they're learning, which is fantastic. So because it is all about understanding the concept, and then you apply that in your future life with real money. So it's really just learning that. It's really good.
So just to help out some people, the younger people in the audience, as an example, I'm all about, fun and experiences and things like that. But how small an amount can you put away that actually can add up to something? Like what would you say?
Look, I guess sometimes it's good to link your saving goal to, or saving to goal. For example, we are saving to buy a car, or we are saving to buy a house or a property, an apartment in the future. So it does help our brain to visualize what we want. And then we will then change our behavior, because we'll think about, okay, well, if I do want to buy that car or that house, or go on that holiday, I need to start saving money, because otherwise I can't achieve my goal. So it's really having that goal in mind. It's really important. And also understanding that it doesn't happen overnight, is really seeing that compound interest, that money makes money on money that you earn. It's having that kind of ability to understand the basic fundamentals of money management.
So I mentioned that my husband and I went and saw a financial planner. So and it was quite a long time ago now. It's probably over 12 years ago now that we did that. So at the time we would have been, just late 30s, 40 kind of thing was the mark we did it. And it was such an interesting process. And I just thought maybe if I use my own experience to kind of talk through, it might give you points to kind of, think about as well. And I think the first thing that was really interesting was when we got there, we did actually spend a lot of time talking about our money values and kind of getting us on the same page with them, but also about our risk levels.
Yeah.
And it was a really fantastic process for us. But I think there were a couple of critical things that came out of it. One was sort of a funny one where he had access into our bank accounts in terms of visually could see what we were spending our money on. And I remember one of the things I was really worried about was I really enjoyed buying fresh flowers. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to stop. I won't be able to buy my flowers anymore. And he's like, Melissa, settle down. You can still buy flowers. But the other thing I wanted to call out that I think ended up being so important to us was he sorted out all of our insurances. And I tell everyone I possibly can to look into getting critical illness and things like that, because I was then diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was super important to us. But just, is my experience a common experience in terms of how you would start working with someone?
I think you're very lucky that you did see that financial advisor earlier in your life, 100%. And sometimes it does get triggered by an event. For example, if we've got a life event in our like if we are having children or start having children, if we have a pay rise or maybe inheritance coming through. So there is like a life event that happens and we don't really know what to do. So we go and seek advice. So it's a great milestone. It's good to do that. And in your case, yeah, absolutely. It worked. And it just shows the benefit that starting early and getting the right strategy in place. And you're absolutely right. You don't have to compromise. It's not about just, saving everything or investing it and not really enjoying your life. It is a lovely compromise where your financial advisor will be able to give you that kind of really good understanding of what you need to do in your circumstances. It's tailored to you, how much you can spend, what your life is going to look like in the future, and what do you need to do to achieve your goals. So it's all about, if you think about your like a corporate life, it's very similar. It's a strategy. You set a strategy and then you understand, okay, what is my plan? How do we achieve that strategy? Very similar approach. So I guess so starting with understanding that it is a need. We do need to get some help to ensure that we will have a similar lifestyle in the future, and recognizing it and seeing a professional to help you develop that plan.
So, and I know for us, I think one of the things that was important behaviorally, I think, was our income had increased. And so I didn't necessarily want to fall into that old trap, which I had done for many, many years, of just spending more because I was earning.
Yes. And that's just so common. And that's our brains. The way our brains work, we adjust very quickly. And it's normal. It's common. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, well, let me ask you then, how do you actually choose the right advisor? Because there's a lot of advisors out there. What do you put your hat on if you were out looking for someone? What do you want to know?
I did an article that I posted on my website that has that kind of maybe like a guideline, how to find the right financial advisor, what to ask, what's important, and but I would say it's very similar to finding a hairdresser or any other professional or services that you use in your life. Very similar. You look at the values. You look at what do they actually bring to the table. Are they a giver or are they a taker? Are they empathetic or are they strategic? Are they, so really trying to understand what kind of person you actually want to work with. Do you get along? Do you like them? Particularly you can choose women, men, but at the same time, what are they going to do for you? Be very clear on what you want them to do for you and seek that outcome and go with that to the meeting and say, this is what I want. Can you actually help me achieve that goal or help me do that? That's really important. And again, sometimes it doesn't happen straight away. It might take a couple of goes, but I think it's really important to find somebody who is the right person.
How do you know you can trust them?
Well, again, it's trust is one of the most, well, it's the most important aspect in the relationship, isn't it? And it doesn't happen overnight. Unfortunately, trust is something that gets built and you need to see it and it takes a while.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And that's why I think recommendations are always great. But also I always say to my clients, would you like to speak to any of my existing, to anyone who comes to me and asks for financial advice, do you want to speak to any of my existing clients? Because you get that extra maybe reference. But
Yes.
it does, look, it's not easy and very similar. How do you know how can you trust someone? Some of the best con artists are very trustworthy, like they're doing
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Okay. So this is a subject that keeps our audience awake at night. I know that because I survey a lot of people in our audience and get them to just use a really simple tool. So it's one of those Wheel of Life tools and ask a number of questions around a whole range of areas. And almost without fail, something comes up in that area of money that is keeping them awake at night. Could be that I haven't done my will. Could be that I've got my eyes closed and I have no idea how much money's in my bank or
Yeah.
what my future is going to look like. What do you wish everyone knew? Like, so if you're thinking about someone out in our audience right now, they could be, mid to late 40s, moving into 50s. What do you wish they knew?
It's a big question. But I always compare financial well-being. Well, our well-being consists of financial well-being. So it's a big part of our life. Money is important. And sometimes money is a taboo. We don't like talking about it. We don't talk to our friends about money. Again, which prevents us from actually sometimes learning and making it better for us. But I think it's very similar to what our financial needs, understanding what do I actually need to have in my life. If I'm stressed about it, why? Trying to understand, okay, what is there that stops me from feeling in control? So I guess awareness, I would always say it's quite a big one. Trying to find answers. It's doing your research, asking people, going and seeing other professionals. It's really important that you do spend time, but also don't put your head in the sand. It is a choice, and starting early is a choice. And also, money is boring in a way. So, I mean, or building money, it's a very long, slow process.
It's a discipline, right?
It's a discipline, and it doesn't really excite us as much as other areas of life, but it's like brushing your teeth. It's like doing exercise. It's exactly the same thing. You have to develop that as part of your habit. It's your discipline, it's your routine, because you will see the results in the future. And if I see the most successful investors or people that are successful when it comes to money management, they are all very good at one thing, and it's I think how we have the immediate gratification now, particularly
Yes.
now in this world we live in with social media. Everything comes instantly at our fingertips. We get a delivery the next day or the same day. So ability to say no and ability to pause and think, is this what I need or is it what I want?
Yes.
That even that, but also, it's complex. There are also fears. We sometimes are too fearful, and maybe we are too greedy sometimes as well. If you've got a group think, people are investing in crypto. Do I need to invest in crypto too? Because all of my friends have done it.
Yes.
So you follow that, and you've got social norms, keeping up with the Jonas, like all of those things that are happening. It's so much, and it's all creating this kind of, particularly with noise and all this information out there too. So people get a bit lost, and as a result, they just don't do anything because they're scared.
I also think people feel like they should know so much more than they do. That's one of the things I find that people are, because we don't talk about it,
Yes,
uh,
it's
you know, people are embarrassed.
that's true, and that's why I think sometimes it's guilty for not doing the right things or embarrassed. And it's okay, it's normal. It is okay to
Yep.
feel that way, as long as obviously we recognize that, and we've got the ability to move on. Let's just keep the past in the past, and having that resilience to overcome our fears, overcome our biases, and move on and get to where we need to be. That's probably what I would say. But you're right. Like, so many women come to me and say, "Oh, I'm so bad because I'm not good at maths." I'm like, no. You actually don't have to be good at maths to do a really good financial planning.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, it helps, but it's not a prerequisite. Like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah. So I am fascinated. I'd love to circle back and sort of ask, if there's any success stories or things like that, so people can imagine situations for themselves. But before we go there, I just want to ask what gave you what led to you starting the business on your own? So moving out of a corporate career and doing your own thing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I suppose when you are in the financial services industry, obviously you probably do see good and bad and ugly. And our industry has been shaken up by a lot of like Royal Commission inquiry into the financial services, and trust, as we've mentioned, has been broken sometimes, and it still happens. So I think it's really important to, as you age and as you go through your own journey, recognize what life is all about and who you want to work with, how do you add value, and what's important to you, what's your purpose. So I guess when you start having those soul searching moments, you do realize that, life is short. So it's
Yes.
important that you do what you love, what you're good at, and that provides you with that, satisfaction. So I think that's what happened to me. I just I had a really good thought thinking about, I suppose, yeah, about my journey, and it brought me to that next stage, which I'm just fortunate that it had happened in the way it happened.
Was it scary going out on your
Mm.
own?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I guess, look, I think, you do make those scary decisions in your life. And for me, it was moving to a different country, moving from, different, pivoting to different industry, but also then having my own business, and God knows what happens in the future, what will happen. But having kids, that's a big step as well. It teaches you so
That's
much.
scary.
Yeah. And I think it's just, I guess, yeah, I'm a big believer that you embrace the ambiguity, uncertainty, and you just work with what you've got, and you play to your strength and move forward. That's
So
what I've.
let's circle back. Congratulations on doing that, and doing that incredibly successfully, because it's been a while now for you. Tell me success stories. What would you call out? I know you can't talk about clients in particular, but what would you call out?
I think when it comes to financial planning success, there are two aspects of it. First one is our clients' emotional well-being. And again, that's part of your financial well-being. So if we are able to provide them with that sense of security, and them feeling they're in control of their financial affairs, they sleep at night because they know that everything is working for them. They don't have to, um, you know, it's just, yes, it's really important, that feeling of security, particularly with women.
Mm.
But the second aspect, obviously, it's the financial outcome. And I guess that's more of a tangible result. So I guess for us, when we work with, for example, a divorcee, it's really important to understand what's going on, what do they actually need, what do they want, and taking them on their journey from a position where they completely don't understand what's happening, what to do, their next steps, how to even go through that process. Are they going to remain in their home? Will they need to sell and rent for the rest of their life? Or will they be able to buy a house? Will they be able to maintain their lifestyle? So answering those questions, sometimes it is a great success story, because they're getting what those answers are answered.
Mm.
Questions that
Questions answered, yeah.
yes, and that is huge. And we haven't even done, you know what I mean? So it's all about, I guess, understanding what do actually people need and delivering
Yes.
that and adding value to their life. So it's big from a financial point of view. Obviously, sometimes our strategies could make hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. It's just because, obviously, you look at the tax, you look at the superannuation environment, and there are big differences, and particularly because of compound interest, longer term impact will be significant. So somebody who is starting early, and you show them the benefit of simple saving, putting away 20% of their income into an investment, how much better they're going to be in the future. It's just astronomical. So that is big.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I ask everybody what brave feminine leadership means. I would love to ask, from your perspective, what does brave feminine leadership mean? And do you think it needs to change?
I think it's being honest with yourself. And I think it's just really, again, understanding. For me, it's the big one is understanding what it's all about, understanding your strength, your weaknesses, understanding what you can do to help others. And I guess what motivates you, like, if you are a people person, if your call is to help others, just go with that. Don't waste time on things that are not important in your life. But it does come with age. I feel like it's obviously, and I know that in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, there will be another probably answer. But for me, at this point in time, is leading with that, really being honest with yourself.
Yeah. Fantastic. I've so much enjoyed our conversation. And I think, you know, for myself, one of the takeaways there with a lot of the female executives I work with is just step forward to go and understand what the situation is today. You know, like I think I see so many people who've kind of got their eyes closed, just hoping it'll go away.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is you can't ignore this. So thank you so much for joining me in this conversation, Natallia. It's been so lovely to get to connect with you. I've really appreciated it.
It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me share my knowledge, and I enjoy it. So